welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah, this is Brown Family Goods. Today I'm sharing with you, and just in this video in general, I want to share with you some meals that we have eaten over the past couple of weeks. So not in just 1 week's time, because quite frankly, we eat a lot of leftovers if we can. Video, I do want to share with you some meals that we have had that were pretty good. So today I'm going to be starting out with some crispy oven baked ribs. You're gonna love these if you try them. You just need a few hours for some oven cooking time, so maybe put them in one afternoon when you have some time or you're gonna be hanging around the house. But I'll show you exactly how those bake up, as well as some slaw. This is gonna be kind of an Asian slaw rather than a typical, I don't know, Southern slaw that I would make to go with ribs. Point we're doing pretty low carb, veggie and meat type of thing. So you won't see much bread in this week's video. Maybe none at all. I can't remember exactly what all I filmed, but I doubt there will be much bread in it because we're not eating much bread at this point. These are still really filling and yummy meals, so I hope that you'll enjoy seeing exactly what we've been eating over the last little bit here and how it all comes together. So let me get started on the crispy ribs for today. The first thing that I'm going to do for these crispy oven ribs is put my oven on at 350 degrees and get it preheated. Then I'll just prep the ribs with this dry rub. We'll mix that up together here in just a minute. But we'll prep it with the dry rub, and then they actually bake for about 3 or 3.5 hours covered with foil. And that's really the key here to success, is baking them for quite a long time. So you want them to really render down in the oven, and then for the last little bit after that 3 or 3.5 hours has gone by, then we take the top off or the foil off, and we'll let them really crisp up at that point. Let's mix up this rub for the ribs. I'm only doing 1 rack of ribs today. Well, this recipe for rub is for a lot more. So I'm basically cutting it down into 1/3 of the recipe. So I'm going to kind of figure that out as I go along. But I'll put the full recipe on my website. Today, I'm cutting it down pretty far to just 1/3 of the recipe. Brown sugar, salt. We need about 1.5 teaspoons. I don't want any cayenne on mine just because Alan doesn't prefer them to have any heat to them. So I'm just going to use smoked paprika instead. Okay, I guess I'm just going to shake it until I get how much I want. That's probably about 1.5 teaspoons of that. Garlic powder, we'll put about 1 teaspoon of it. It was a little bit more cooperative. The same with onion powder, 1 teaspoon. Some chili powder, about 1.5 teaspoons of that is what that would be. A little bit of cumin. I'm going to only use about 1/2 teaspoon because I don't like things to be super cumin heavy. So just grind in some black pepper too. Now I'm just preparing the pan for these ribs, and you definitely want to put down either foil if you're comfortable using foil underneath your food, or parchment paper, something to line the pan, because the brown sugar that's in this rub is going to cook onto the pan otherwise, and it's going to be very difficult to clean. So I'm just prepping the ribs here by taking that membrane off the back. I use a paper towel to hold on to that membrane a lot more easily so it doesn't slip out of my hands, and just kind of get it started and then peel it off the back there. Then add your rub to both sides of the ribs. Now you can let the rub sit on there for much longer than what I did on this day. I was not really thinking about making these on this day, but we were home early because it was the start of a snow day and getting ready for all of that. So I decided to go ahead and put these into the oven on this day. But you can leave the rub on them overnight if you want, or several hours throughout the day, whatever you prefer, and it will add a good bit of flavor to them if you can leave it for longer. And if you don't have time to leave it for longer, that's fine too. We're back. It's a little later in the afternoon, and it's been about 2.5 hours since I put those ribs into the oven, and now I'm going to get a couple side dishes ready. So I'm going to do some roasted potatoes. I figure I already have the oven on and going for a long time, so I might as well make use of it and do some roasted potatoes. I wasn't going to do a starch, but it's so cold outside, and sometimes it's nice to just have a warm a full belly when it's nice and cold outside like this. So I wanted to do some roasted potatoes along with the ribs and the slaw today. So what I have here is some beef tallow and then a little bit of bacon grease as well. That's what I'm going to use for the fat for my roasted potatoes. I just cut up some red potatoes. I just cut them into halves, like long ways like this, so that I can first toss them in the fat and then season them up and then put them cut side down on the pan, because I can roast them pretty slowly with the oven at 350 degrees. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So these can go into the fat here. My spoon keeps going away. We'll try to toss them up and coat them, but we'll definitely dip the bottom here into the fat before we put them on the pan. Just coat them a little bit, and then we'll put some seasoning on and toss them again. The thing is, with the beef tallow, it really solidifies quickly once it hits something cold. So, yeah, we'll just do the best that we can. Get some seasoning. Definitely some pepper, salt, garlic powder. I think I'm just going to leave them like that. If you wanted to, you could always do some Parmesan cheese or something on these too, but I don't want that tonight since we're doing more of we've got the barbecue ribs, and then we've got like the Asian sort of side dish for the slaw. So we'll just dump them, and then I'm going to make sure I turn them all cut side down on the pan. That way they get really, really crispy on the cut side there, and that'll be nice. Now I'm going to put these straight into the oven. They will take 30 or 40 minutes probably like this, but I have about an hour total left of cooking time, and so they'll probably go for most of that time. Now I'm just going to mix up the dressing for this slaw recipe, and I will definitely make the dressing again, even if just for a salad, because it was so tasty. So it's called China Coast Slaw. That's just where I found the recipe online. The ingredients are very simple, and they're just sort of Asian flavors, probably all these things you have on hand. And then you add some mayonnaise to it and make it into sort of a salad dressing. I forgot to add the garlic powder, so I went back and added that after a few minutes. And then I just really thinly sliced up some broccoli, fresh broccoli that I had on hand. And then I also cut down a little bit some slaw mix. You know, it's just a cabbage, carrots, and like red cabbage in there. I just chop it down a little bit finer so that the shred is not quite as big. And then this salad came together so easily. So I'm going back and forth between calling it a slaw and a salad because I'm not really sure what it is. But it was delicious either way. We loved it. And you'll see that all of these ingredients are sort of a theme in this week's video, because I guess this is just what we're eating right now. Lots of broccoli, lots of salads, and that type of stuff. Here's my slaw. I just mixed finely sliced broccoli, fresh broccoli, with some coleslaw mix, the one in the bag, and then kind of toss it together. And this is going to be my salad / slaw. Now, I'm just going to get out some slivered almonds and toast them up in a pan quickly. And here you can see the ribs are all done. So I did choose to put some barbecue sauce on mine for the last 30 minutes. That's completely optional. If you leave them dry, they'll be nice and crispy on the exterior. If you want to add sauce, go ahead and add it in that last 30 minutes of the cooking time. And then that kind of makes the sauce really adhere and get nice and sticky on the exterior of those ribs as well. These are so good. You cannot beat them, especially for just being oven ribs. It really, if you don't want to grill, or if you just don't have a grill or something like that, or a smoker, this is an exceptional way to cook ribs. We love these every time because they're so tender and they always turn out very, very good. This next night that I'm sharing with you is nothing revolutionary, but I wanted to share it with you because sometimes this is just what dinner looks like around here. I'm using those chicken cutlets that I prepared in a recent meal prep video. I wanted to share those with you. So I just pulled them straight from the freezer. I actually broke one because I broke it when I was taking it out of the bag, but I popped them into the air fryer for about 15 or 20 minutes. I crisped them up. I put it together with some leftover green beans and potatoes and a salad mix from the grocery store, and we called it dinner for that night. And it was so good and absolutely so easy. Next up is sheet pan sausage and sweet potatoes. I added some broccoli to this as well because it was high time to use the broccoli that was in my refrigerator. So first I just chunk everything up and I start with the broccoli. I leave it in pretty big pieces for this because I want this to stay nice and crisp, tender, I guess I would say is the goal for me for broccoli, and because I don't like it to be absolute mush. So I use 2 broccoli crowns, and then I'm going to use 2 medium-sized sweet potatoes. This is just for Alan and I for one night. We ended up having a little bit of leftovers with this one as well. It was so delicious. I think the sausage in this really, really makes it. You can use any type of sausage that you prefer. So I'm using, for the sweet potatoes here, I'm cutting these up into a good sized chunk as well. So probably about 1-inch pieces. I had about half of an onion hanging around on this day, so I used it as well. For the, I guess you would call this marinade or sauce or something, whatever you want to call it, I'm using some of this comfy garlic, the garlic that I used in order to make garlic oil. So I just kind of infused the garlic oil with this garlic, and then I saved the garlic cloves after I was done with that. So I used some of that comfy garlic. It was so good. I used some lemon juice, more of the garlic oil, salt, pepper, a little bit of oregano, and then some smoked paprika as well. And that's what I use to toss and coat the veggies to begin with. So I leave the broccoli to the side for the first round of cooking. I don't want the broccoli to be overcooked, so I'm going to put it in after the veggies and the sausage have gone for about 20 minutes. So I'm just chunking up the sausage at this point, making it nice, good sized chunks for that as well. And then everything goes onto a lined sheet pan. I just spread it out as best I can. That way the sweet potatoes and everything have plenty of room to get nice and cooked. The oven is at 400 degrees for this. I'm adding now, I take everything out of the oven and I add in the broccoli, but I want to toss the broccoli and everything together so that the broccoli gets coated in that sausage, fat, and all of the other dressing that I put on there originally. And this turned out really, really well. I just threw on a little bit of salt and pepper before I put it back into the oven too. Make sure you add plenty of salt to this because you have lots of veggies there. The sausage is going to add great flavor, but don't skimp on the salt as well. So you see how everything turned out after I put it back in for about 20 more minutes to cook that broccoli and everything through. And this was, number one, extremely easy and so tasty. Now we're on to the final night, and on this evening we're having a cucumber salad with some chicken lettuce cups. So this is just based on the ingredients that I had on hand on this day, and I needed to use up this cucumber and those fresh green beans and a few other things in the kitchen. So I said this is going to just whipped up a quick dressing for the cucumber salad out of liquid aminos, I believe, some of that chili crisp oil, some sesame oil, a little bit of that comfy garlic, and probably some rice wine vinegar as well. Then I just quickly chunked up the cucumber in good sized pieces so that it will stay nice and crisp, and put it into that dressing and tossed it around. I threw that into the fridge until we were ready to eat, and it was such a good side with these chicken lettuce wraps. The rest of everything, I have a recipe that I go off of, and then I just loosely base it on that. So I'm going to link a recipe in the description box. It's not my recipe, but it's just one that I take inspiration from when I make these. These are basically a P.F. Chang's copycat recipe, I think it is. So on this evening, I had a big pack of chicken thighs in the refrigerator that I wanted to use part of. So I just sort of chunked them up into good sized pieces, and then I actually tossed them in some cornstarch before I fried them up in the pan. After that, I just prepped the veggies and got them ready. So I'm using some green onions here, some fresh green beans, as well as some of that slaw mix that I keep in the fridge at all times right now. It seems like I'm going to use those for my veggie components in this. And then, like I said, I tossed the chicken in about a tablespoon of cornstarch. That just helps to give it a little bit of a crisp on the outside when you fry it up. Definitely want to use your splatter guard on a night like this because you want the pan to be nice and hot so the chicken does actually get some browning on it. But it will splatter, as you can see from my poor cooktop after a meal like this. Then I pile in the veggies and I start to let them cook a little bit along with the chicken. I did cook the chicken in batches, so I removed it as it got browned and done, and then I just did the next batch after that. So I'm just trying to scrape up a little bit of that fond from the bottom of the pan as I cook. And I put the lid on. I also throw in about 3 or 4 ice cubes when I put the vegetables in there so that it sort of steams the veggies and releases some liquid into the bottom of the pan so that the pan will release that fond that's there. That's just a lot of flavor, and we want to make sure that we're able to scrape that up. After the veggies cook for about, probably 5 to 8 minutes, I will put the sauce in, and then again, I'm trying to work up all of those bits from the bottom of the pan now that we have some liquid there, and I just toss everything together. This is a meal that comes together very, very quickly if you do sort of the prep work ahead of time. So as soon as you've got all of the veggies prepared, the chicken prepared, and all of that, then get ready to cook everything. Don't try to chop and prep things as you go. I did add a little bit more water to the pan just because I wanted this to be a little bit more saucy. And then I let that sauce sort of simmer and cook for about 5 minutes as well. It will thicken up just a little bit, especially depending on how much cornstarch you use on your chicken. That can help to thicken your sauce too. If it gets a little bit thin, you could always add a little bit more of a cornstarch slurry, but I didn't feel that I needed it on this night. To serve up, I just build my chicken lettuce cups with a little bit of rice. This is just a microwave 90-second rice pouch that I'm using on this evening. And I just pile in the chicken, a little bit of rice, and some of that chili crisp oil. Have you guys tried that? Because it is the best. I hope you have enjoyed these nights of dinner that I've shared today, and maybe it gave you a few ideas for yourself as well. I always appreciate you being here and watching my videos. If you liked today's video, I hope you'll give it a like. If you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe so that you won't miss a thing the next time that I post. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you back here again real soon.